you hate
What
that?
was 1776? What was that?
That was the founding of the country.
Which was it? What was the event? What would you call that?
When we overthrew royalty and created
against the government,
created
would you call
a constitutional republic.
Would you call that an insurrection?
No.
No. 1776, the revolutionary. You wouldn't call that an insurrection?
So are you pro-insurrection now? You just babble and stammer so much I can't figure out where you're at.
Progressive commentator Destiny debated far-right MAGA extremist Owen Schroyer, who hosts a show on Alex Jones' InfoWars network. This took place at an event called Uncensored America, with Destiny facing off against this right-wing provocateur. As you can imagine, things got heated and highly entertaining. We'll look at clips from this Uncensored America debate, and I'll share my thoughts along the way. In this first segment, they tackle the topic of whether Democrats mismanage cities. Let's check it out together.
First of all, what cities are so expensive to live in? Democrat-run cities. And again, he talks about redistribution.
Is this the open?
You talk about redistribution again.
When those cities are expensive, do you acknowledge that those cities produce more economic output for the country than all the red cities? This is what I mean when I say these people don't live in reality. But why can't you acknowledge that? Because you'll very quickly say things like, oh, well, there are more homicides in Chicago. Yeah, there's more people that live in Chicago, and Chicago is what makes Illinois all its money. That's where the money comes from, or the blue cities. It's not just blue states that subsidize the existence of red states, which is true. And by the way, all of those governors were so happy for the American Rescue Plan when Biden was there to hand out money to shore up their budgets. But then when you want to talk about expenses and living and all these other things, now you want to talk about how blue cities need to be held responsible, but you don't give them credit for the economic output? It's insane.
So it's a nice deflection. So Democrat cities are the most expensive to live in, so I'm glad you at least acknowledge that. And again,
more expensive to live in the U.S. than Uganda as well, right? It is, right?
So you can always volunteer to pay more, all right? If you want to redistribute wealth, you can be the hero, man. You can empty your bank account right now, but I bet you don't. I bet you're actually living pretty rich. I bet you do pretty well. And you want to bring up the Constitution. The Constitution actually states when the United States government becomes corrupt, it's our duty to reform the government. That's actually
what
in the
article clause is that? Is to terminate,
Second
suspend
of all,
the rules
you
of
can read it
Constitution?
again.
Which Constitution are we talking about?
We live in a constitutional republic. We don't live in a democracy.
What is the contradiction there? What do you think? Hold on. What is a republic and what is a democracy?
A democracy is where a bunch of lunatics like you can vote away my rights. A democracy is where 3 wolves and a sheep vote what's for dinner.
Is that Article 5 or Article 6? I don't know what part of the Constitution.
So you asked what a democracy
was. So a democracy is when multiple people vote. A republic is when you have representatives that do things for you. We are a representative democracy. That's why we're a constitutional republic. We are both a republic, which just means you're not a monarchy, and a democracy. This idea that we must be a republic because I'm a Republican and we're not a democracy because you're a Democrat is fucking retarded. Come on.
Right away, you can see that Destiny is far too sharp for Owen Schroyer. All he's doing is regurgitating the usual right-wing talking points. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Well, guess what? Outside of the Electoral College, which frankly should be abolished because it's a disaster, it's majority rule in every election. If someone running for mayor, governor, or any office gets one more vote than their opponent, they win. Guys like Owen hate that because they prefer minoritarian rule, letting them impose things like taking away abortion rights even when Roe versus Wade was supported by 2/3 of the public. So these right-wingers constantly throw around the constitutional republic line, and he's just parroting it from somewhere else. Applause.
So again, we live in a constitutional republic where we have unalienable rights given to us by God, the Creator. Democrats don't want you to know that because they want to be able to vote away your rights, like they want to be able to vote away your Second Amendment rights, vote away your First Amendment rights, and they'll go right down the line, okay? So that's why these people love democracy, because they want to be able to vote away your rights.
Expanding the child tax credit absolutely was not a Donald Trump policy.
Rights.
Abortion that we lost to a conservative Supreme Court. Are we talking about the Second Amendment when Donald Trump did the bump stock ban? I'm sorry, how were your gun rights attacked under Biden?
It was a bad ban.
And they came under Donald Trump, so why would he be the guy, no offense, but a liberal from New York, which is what Donald Trump is, that's the guy that you want defending your gun rights?
So you now have the President of the United States and the Vice President and the next would-be Vice President, Tim Walz, have all said they want an assault weapons ban, okay? What even is an assault weapon? Can you tell me?
A scary big black rifle that Democrats have been crying about for 30 years. They haven't banned it yet. I don't think they're going to ban it in this administration.
Very intellectual. By the way, what is a rich person's fair share?
What is a rich person's fair share? I think that the level of taxation should match appropriately the spending that we want from our federal government. Also, the reason what you asked me to assault rifle, there is no definition for an assault rifle. I acknowledge that. I don't want to ban assault rifles. Tim Walz and Kamala Harris both own firearms. Walz is a hunter. When was the last time you saw Trump with a firearm? I watched Roseanne, it was Roseanne, I think, with a firearm, right? Where she almost killed herself on a Twitter video with one? Jesus Christ.
So what, in the Bill of Rights, where is abortion mentioned?
Do you want to get into the constitutional legal construction of the penumbra of rights that are invoked when you try to get like the right to privacy out of the 14th Amendment?
You claim there's a right to an abortion. It just doesn't exist.
I didn't claim there was a right to an abortion. Technically, the abortion right comes from a right to privacy, but we'd have to go over Casey and Roe, and I'm sure that you're not familiar with any of those Supreme Court cases, or probably any Supreme Court case. But the reality is that before you had a protected right to seek an abortion. Now you don't. Republicans took that from you. Before you had the right to own a bump stock, Donald Trump banned bump stocks through executive action, by the way.
Which lost at the Supreme Court.
Which what?
Lost at the Supreme Court.
Well, that hasn't stopped him in the past from going back over and over again to try to get cases tossed or to try to get favorable rulings.
Hey man, I don't live in a cult. I said I have disagreements with Donald Trump. So you can attack me on Trump's policies that I disagree with. That's not a win for you.
I agree I can't win attacking you on Trump's policies because he has none. I mean, what am I mean, yeah, what can you give me what is one Trump policy that he's running on besides 20% tariffs?
Secure border.
That's not a policy. That's like
taxes.
an idea. That's the concept of an idea of a policy.
Stopping war.
Okay.
What are Harris' policies that are so great?
Well, the three that she listed immediately is she wanted to give a $50,000 rollover deduction to new startups for small businesses. So
that was Trump's idea?
What?
Trump did that. When he was president.
Maybe he should have spoke it. I don't know if he's too senile now or he's lost the ability to do it. What?
You just weren't watching.
I was watching. Unfortunately, I watched too much Trump. That was one. A second thing she wanted to do was expand the child tax credit, which was incredibly successful under Biden.
Also a Trump policy.
It wasn't. That's why it happened under Biden. And it's why the Republicans initially fought against it.
That's an outright point where destiny poked a hole in Owen Schroyer's conspiracy theory. If the goal is for immigrants to have housing, just give them the houses. Why create this convoluted system with tax credits? Just give them the homes.
Are we going to say that pre-existing conditions in the ACA was a Trump policy now as well? I know that he wants to take care of that one. And then the third thing that Kamala Harris said is she wanted to do a $15,000 first-time home buyer credit to people that were buying homes for the first time. Donald Trump said he wanted
for illegal immigrants.
How does I'm so curious. How do you think these tax credits work?
You do realize that they give money to illegal immigrants to buy houses?
I don't think you know how any of this works because I think you were probably born a rich kid and you never bought a house on an FHA loan before. So I had a tax credit when I bought a house. The way that these work is you apply for these refundable tax credits when you get them at the end of the year when you've qualified for them. An illegal immigrant definitionally doesn't file taxes because they don't have social security numbers. They don't get money back from the government. So how would an illegal immigrant qualify for a tax credit? Again, this doesn't make any sense. It's like the hurricane machines.
I agree. It doesn't make any sense. This is the Democrat policy. I completely agree. It doesn't make any sense at all. So
where are these lazy people that are coming over and not working and not getting jobs, getting the money for homes?
The U.S. government.
They pay them for the homes too? Then why even give them the tax credit? Why not just give them the homes outright?
Don't give them any.
Okay, before we dive into Destiny continuing to dismantle him, one thing you should know about Owen Schroyer is that he was involved in the January 6th insurrection and was sentenced to 2 months in prison. Just a bit of context on who this guy really is.
Ideas. They might do that next. They might actually do that next.
Where are they getting all these?
Actually, they do. Who pays for the hotels that they're staying at in New York City, in Chicago? Well, who's paying for those hotels? Who's paying for that room and board?
I imagine there's probably federal money allocated to people.
And where does the federal government get its money?
From the,
U.S.
from the U.S.
taxpayers.
Treasury? Sure, yeah.
U.S. taxpayers. So you are paying for illegal immigrants' housing. Thank you very much.
Illegal immigrants staying in apartments and hotels temporarily is not them buying homes with a tax credit. This is like saying we can do cloud seeding, therefore we've created hurricanes for attacking the United States. You see that it's a mott and belly. It's not the same at all.
Let's just move on.
Yeah, of course. I've been telling Republicans that since the 2020 election, and they still haven't.
This is a new opportunity. Anything that you want to bring up during the open dialogue, Stephen?
Yeah. Do we acknowledge that Trump probably lost 2020? Have we gotten over that yet, or?
No, I don't want to relitigate that. But I would be happy to show you the results on the graphs where at 3:30 in the morning in 4 states, Biden's votes go straight up. Is that normal?
No, it's not normal.
So what?
He has declared himself the victor and, essentially, has not conceded the election for 4 years. All Donald Trump has done is continue to complain about his claims that he actually won and that the election was stolen from him.
What do you think that is?
I think that just like every single person before the election said, there was an unprecedented amount of mail-in voting.
And they were all for Biden.
A lot of them were. Did you
Of
not
course.
listen?
Of course they were.
Of course they were.
And they all came right at 3:30 in the morning.
Because Donald Trump spent a year in the lead up telling his people, don't vote via mail-in ballot.
You are so
Do you remember
gullible,
that
man.
happening? Did you watch Donald Trump for a year
You are
say,
so
we don't
gullible.
vote via mail-in ballot, we go to the polls and vote? And you know why he did that? We know why he did that. Because Roger Stone and Manafort, two corrupt lunatics that Donald Trump has both given full pardons to, by the way, are on recorded audio saying Donald Trump is just going to declare himself the victor on the night of the election because he knows he's going to get destroyed when the mail-in ballots start coming.
And did Donald Trump declare himself the victor, or did he leave the White House?
That's a pretty solid definition of an insurrection from Destiny. And like so many other MAGA right-wingers, this guy Owen Schroyer...
Do what?
Did Donald Trump leave the White House?
After a failed insurrection, yes.
A failed insurrection. Who ran the insurrection?
Donald Trump and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and everybody that broke into the Capitol and delayed the certification of the vote.
Do you really believe that?
Was the vote certification delayed?
What is an insurrection?
Wait, was the vote... Was the vote certification delayed on January 6th?
No, it went through. They certified. Did Trump?
Hold on. I'm so sorry. I don't know who you're answering right now. Was the vote certification delayed? Was Congress called out of session on January 6th?
Yes, I think for a couple hours.
For several hours.
So by the end of the day,
why were they called out of session?
So by the end of the day,
you see how we can't live in reality? You see how this doesn't work? The country doesn't function when you have people
if you want
that
to go
refuse
back
to
and call
accept.
this an insurrection,
The craziest thing is it's all on video. We've seen all of this.
So
None of this is a mystery.
Tell me what an insurrection is. Just define it for me.
I don't have to define it for you. I'm just asking simple questions. On January 6th, there was a certification of the vote. That vote was disrupted by violence. If you want to get into what an insurrection is, you could say that it was a crowd of people that had gathered with a common purpose to use the means of violence or intimidation to disrupt an official federal proceeding, such as the certification of the 2020 vote, the outcome of that election. Which is why...
Of course, they were peaceful. Everyone just went home. No violence, no windows smashed, no police beaten. None of that. Just total nonviolence, right? Again, alternate reality, ignoring the facts, pretending nothing happened that day. Of course, the courts know exactly what happened. They sentenced this guy to 2 months in prison. Interview 8.
It would probably qualify as an insurrection.
Okay. How many guns were at this insurrection?
You don't need a gun for an insurrection.
Zero.
Wait, the cops didn't have any guns?
Oh, the cops had a gun. That's right. They killed an innocent person.
So that's what you just said, which is wrong.
That's right. They killed an innocent person.
With a slingshot? What do you mean there were 0 guns at the insurrection?
So, okay, so the government had the guns. So that's good. So that's what happens when only the government has the guns.
Just to be clear here, none of the people on the grounds of the Capitol had any firearms on them? Not a single one. Really? Not even though the Secret Service said 80% of the people that were at the Ellipse just an hour earlier listening to Trump's speech didn't go through the magnometers because they saw people in the crowd that had firearms they didn't want to go through that all marched to the Capitol building. What, did they drop their gun off at a hotel? Did they give it to a friendly police officer? Did they find a fellow DC BLM guy to hold onto their rifles?
Not a single gun was ever recovered or on record at the January 6th insurrection.
Oh, recovered.
And what type of an insurrection?
How many pipe bombs were found at
That's
the
a great question, actually. Who laid those pipe bombs?
We don't know. We never found out.
We don't know. How convenient. The government can recognize somebody's earlobe in a video and track them down and go arrest them in the middle of a hurricane, by the way. The FBI went into North Carolina in the middle of a hurricane and arrested somebody, but they can't find who laid the pipe bombs. They have no idea. And Kamala Harris doesn't remember where she was that day either, even though one of the bombs was allegedly right outside of her office. She has no idea. She's changing her story. But what type of an insurrection?
No one is changing the story. You guys filmed this
Kamala
from start
has
to
changed
finish.
the story.
We can
Kamala
watch you guys cheering for it. We can watch you cheering 1776. What was 1776?
I know you hate 1776.
Wait,
I know you hate that.
What was 1776? What was that?
That was the founding of the country.
Which was it? What was the event? What would you call that?
When we overthrew royalty and created
against the government,
would you call it a constitutional republic.
Would you call that an insurrection?
No.
1776, the revolutionary. You wouldn't call that an insurrection?
So are you pro-insurrection now? You just babble and stammer so much. I can't figure out where you're at. Tell me what kind of an insurrection, when an emergency notice goes out to go home, everybody goes home and calls it a day. Is that
what kind of an insurrection ends when the leader tells his followers to go home? All of them.
Perfect.
That's kind of how it works. That's how a cult works.
So there was no insurrection. Trump didn't want to overthrow the government. Thank you for admitting that. That wasn't too hard to get out of you.
We can't even follow basic logic.
No,
1776 was an insurrection. It was a
now
revolution.
You're deflecting again to 1776.
I'm not deflecting.
So
I'm referring
Trump
specifically.
wanted to insurrect
it's just
the
funny
government,
that you stand outside saying 1776 and go, Well, is this really an insurrection? Well, I don't know. What were we cheering for? The Star Spangled Banner? Was it choir practice?
Actually, they were singing the Star Spangled Banner, something
sure.
you'll
They were
never
also
hear at a
chanting,
Democrat
"Hang
event.
Mike Pence." When Donald Trump said Mike Pence needs to do the right thing, what was he talking about there? What do you want Pence to do?
So in the history of the United States, there have been multiple times where a party rejects the results of an election, and all 3 times prior to 2020, it was the Democrat Party.
Really? You want to walk? Let's walk through those. Let's walk through those. Do you want to go through? Do you want to go over when it happened in 1960 in Hawaii, when the only reason why they submitted 2 different slates of electors, which were both authorized by the state legislatures, because there needed to be a recount. You want to use that one, or do you want to go back to Ulysses S. Grant, the one that happened prior to the ECA even being passed? Right? Where the whole reason why that law was passed was because it was such a clusterfuck of an election. Which one do you want to go to? Do you want to go to Gore, where Gore he gave up that election as soon as he lost to the Supreme Court, where there wasn't even a delay in the electors voting in Florida, let alone a January 6th certification? The problem is you don't know anything. You have no facts for any of this. And the strongest facts that you can attest to, you no longer can because you're scared of being sued again for defamation. So Obviously, you're just going to sit here and ramble on some crazy shit. That's why you won't admit that 1776 was obviously an insurrection. That's why you were cheering it on outside when you thought you were going to be the winners of that insurrection instead of the losers. And it's why you won't admit now to obvious facts that are right in front of our face.
Destiny is just way too smart for this guy Owen Troyer. Destiny has the facts on her side, and all Owen Troyer can do, like so many MAGA far-right types, is throw out conspiracy theories and lies. But what do you think? Who do you think won this debate? One thing I want to say. If you want to watch the full debate, it's almost 2 hours long. I just shared a few clips of the parts one found most interesting. But you can head over to the Modern Day Debate YouTube channel to watch the entire thing, where Destiny just keeps pummeling this guy. Let me know in the comments. Did Destiny get the better of Owen Troyer here? Or do you think Owen Troyer was the winner in this part of the debate I shared? Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. It helps me grow the channel. I just recently passed 25,000 subscribers, and I want to keep growing. Your comments about Destiny, Owen Troyer, or anyone I talk about on the channel also help me grow. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. This is Chris on Culture, and I'll see you in the next video.